Hello, everyone. We're live. I think we're live. Let me just check. Oh, it's doing it again. Oh, that's why this is working. Yeah, there you go. Let's just turn this. This is the problem. Okay, that should now be working. Hello, everyone. If you're watching this, this is the Weekend Watch List number 4. Little bit of a change of time. So it's coffee time here in Australia. It's Christmas Eve. So we already know how the day turns out. It's 10 a.m. in the morning here. So you've still got that all to come. We've just opened some gifts for the kiddies. So that's been fun. You'll have to excuse me. The screen's down here, and I'm just trying to sort of move back and forth. I've got a few things to talk about today. Most notably, the scandal that's rocking the comic community at the moment around these slabs. There's been a lot of work done by the CGC board members. And so I wanted to sort of call it out first of all. I've been going through their posts and seeing what's been happening. But yeah, we're going to be covering that. And then as well, I've got a few books that I've been going through over the last couple of weeks. And I thought I'd share those with you as well as we go through them. But we'll just keep this going at the moment in terms of like those books. I was debating whether or not I actually talked about this scandal that's been happening, because do I have anything to offer or anything new? But I thought, it's worth sort of saying something about it, because it's quite a scary situation if some of the things that are being said are true. And I want to caveat all of this is that nothing's been proven, nothing's been, there's a lot of evidence out there, and a lot of conjecture. And so just being very mindful of the fact that, nothing's finally confirmed yet. And as we all know, CGC are yet to say anything about the whole debacle. I'm not going to name any names in this because, as I say, although it's innocent till proven guilty, I just want to make sure that, there's a lot of evidence. But again, it's, just be careful out there in terms of the books that you're buying. Sometimes, as the old adage goes, if it looks too good to be true, it sometimes is. And so that's probably why it's one of those where we'll show you the evidence. I've sort of done a few little slides in terms of what's out there, what's happening, and give you a sense as well. I think one of the things that's confusing about this whole story is a lot of people are still confused how the whole thing works, how it's supposed to work, what's the process, how has this scam been perpetuated. And so, I've tried to sort of bring a little bit of knowledge to that. And again, a key shout out here to 9.9 Newsstand, who discovered this in the first place. Other YouTubers like Automatic Comics, who did work alongside the other CGC board members. I'll put a link to the CGC board and the various other YouTubers that have covered this. West Coast Avengers is one. Swaggerhouse, obviously. And I'll put links down below for this post the stream going live. But the idea, everyone's been digging around trying to find these books, trying to find out what's been going on. And so, maybe we just jump straight in and show you what we know so far, right? So let's bring this up. So what we know so far, there are 6 books that are a little bit suspect, right? So they're suspected to be affected by this issue. Now, let me just quickly set up. So you can see here, the first one that kicked it off is Amazing Spider-Man 252. Now, let me just bring this up because this is important to mention. Let me just switch this screen. So this, you can see this now. So this is the first post that came out, and this is what kicked it all off. So this is by 9.9 Newsstand. Lots of coverage on this so far. Everyone's been talking about it. Essentially, there's a 9.8 Mark Jewelers that sold for 15,700. And that book, when you look at the cert number, there's another book with that same cert number. So every CGC book has a certificate number. And for some unknown reason, this book, which started out as a simple newsstand, suddenly became a Mark Jewelers book with a custom label and sold for this phenomenal amount of 15,700. But if you look at these two books side by side and do some closer investigation, as 9.9 pointed out, they don't look like they're the same book. And in fact, there's telltale signs that they're not the same book. And these are all covered on the CGC boards in terms of people breaking it down. He breaks it down in this post as well. So I would urge everyone who's not seen this yet, hunt out 9.9, the 9.9 newsstand. Check out this post. Look at the post. Look at what he's provided in terms of the difference of the two books. But the idea is that essentially somehow that book went from a newsstand to a Mark Jewelers through a reholder process. Now, you're asking yourself, how, maybe they missed it. Yeah, sure. But the book doesn't look like it's a 9.8 for a start, the new book. It's certainly not the original book that was the 9.8. And so this is where it sort of calls into question, whether the book that's in there is the same book or another new book. And then the other question is, what's happened to the original book in that case? And so we'll talk about that a little bit, because again, it's one of these where not many people are sort of looking at this. Not many people are thinking this way through. So whoever or whatever, if this is a scam, it's a very sort of complicated and very sort of deliberate, or it feels like it's a deliberate switch in terms of these two books. But again, nothing's been proven. It's, you can look at the evidence yourself and make your own valuation. But again, these two books, they don't look like they're the same books. So this is, as I say, this is what kicked it all off. Swagger House picked it up, ran with it, started talking about it in the same way. And then what ended up happening is it got covered on the CGC boards. And this is a chat forum on the CGC website that you get to from there. And essentially the board members started to dig into this and looking at other books that might have been essentially tampered with or were different books. So let me just switch this screen and show you. So what's happened is that all these CGC boardies have found a number of different books that have potential to be impacted by this sort of scam. And again, we'll touch on how it actually works in a minute. But let me just bring up this and you'll get a sense of, it started as one book. And now you can see here, we've now got a number of books that are affected. So you've got the original one here, The Amazing Spider-Man 252, that Mark Jeweler. And I've put the certificate numbers that everyone's talking about on here as well, just so everyone can have a look. I may have got the wrong number for that one. I'll update that in the later video. So what we have here is we've got a Amazing Spider-Man 252 Mark Jeweler that is in question. We've got a New Mutants 98 Mark Jewelers that's also in question. There's a Hulk 181, which looks like that's in question. It looks like that was swapped with a qualified book and now has a blue label, which is incredibly, if that is true, then that is a massive issue. And then they found two more of those where it's suspected that the similar has happened, where they've gone from being a qualified book and then used this existing certification, reholdered, and become a blue label. So there's three of these. One is a 9.0. The top one is a 9.0. I didn't put that in the note here, but you can see they range from a 9.0, an 8.5, and a 7.5. And then last but not least, we've got an X-Men 266, which again is a little bit sus in terms of how that's all happened. Now, I just wanted to give you a sense of how this whole thing supposedly works. So I pulled this together very, very quickly, right? So here's the process. So imagine this is that Hulk 181. So person in question, whoever it is, has a 9.0 blue label book. Great looking book, Hulk 181, great. But they also have a qualified book, which does not have the value stamp in it. So they have those two books. And then what they do is they somehow take the original book and use the original cert number. They take the qualified book and somehow get that into the case with the original book's cert number label. And they submit it to CGC for a reholder with a custom label. And the end result is that it pops out an updated original book. So this is using that original 9.0 cert number, but then the book should be, if it's cracked open and we get to see it, should now have a missing value stamp, but is in a blue case. So one of the big questions here is, if this is true, that book in theory should have a missing value stamp, even though it's not notated here. So this will be the big question, is when these books are back into CGC or the owners sort of find, the original owners, the new owners of these books decide to crack these open. Essentially, they may have a book that doesn't have a value stamp in it. Now, the other kicker that's in here is that if this process is actually followed through, the seller has another 9.0 that they can then send in. So essentially, they've now taken a qualified book and an original book, and they've got two new blue labels. So essentially getting more value out of those books. So this is, essentially this is how it's supposed to work. This is the possible process in terms of how they're doing that middle bit in terms of getting the book with that cert number and putting another book in there is unknown. Nobody knows any of this, but this is, as I say, quite scary if it's true. So it's just one of those things that I just can't understand why someone would do this in the first place. And again, these are not cheap books. These are expensive books. And this is not just for this Hulk. This is for the other books too. So all those other books, they're apparently using the same process as it's supposed to be laid out here. So the big thing that's on everyone's lips is, like, what's happening with CGC? Are they actually doing anything about this? I mean, we're assuming they are, but they've been very quiet. They've issued no statements as yet. And this is quite worrying for, if you think about their reputation, if this has happened, they have to try and work out how they remedy it, or at least find out if this is actually real or true or not. And I think the critical piece here is some of these books that have been identified is getting them back in somehow, or contacting the purchasers, and just finding out if those books, I mean, the Hulk ones are probably the ones where it's going to be the easiest to determine, because if they actually are what everybody is saying they are, those books will have the missing value stamp if they're cracked open. And if that's the case, then it just goes beyond belief that these would get through. But again, this is a very frustrating situation to be in. I actually went back and checked my Hulk 181, and luckily for me, I got that in a CGC case, cracked it, and resubmitted it for grading post pressing. So I know that that's a legitimate copy, right? I know that that's got its value stamp. I know that it's the original because it was regraded by CGC. But it seems here that somehow this reholder process has potentially been used to basically re-encapsulate these books and get them blue labels. But again, we won't know until these books are correct. But again, hopefully this is clearer in terms of how the whole thing has worked. We won't know what that middle box looks like until, you know, we get a statement out of CGC, or some of these original books turn up and someone cracks them open. But it's, you know, how that all works is beyond me. So yeah, as I say, I wanted to sort of share this because you know, there's been some really great work from the CGC boardies in terms of pulling this together, and I think just looking at the CGC boards, there's you know, it's very worrying that this is happening, and everyone's up in arms in terms of how this has happened. But I think most of all, it's just the silence from CGC is just astounding, right? Now we've got a couple of people in the stream. Hey, how are you? Hi, Vinny. How you going? Good to see you. Yeah. So again, it's hopefully this is helpful to everybody. I may see if I can post this on YouTube when I update the actual graphics, etc. And maybe even post it on the boards as well, so that everyone can sort of see how this all works. I have to call out, there was a boardie on the CGC forums who did something similar, and I did use that for inspiration a little bit in terms of creating this, but I wanted to sort of just get it nice and crisp for you guys at home, so that you got a sense of what the flow is supposed to be with this whole piece. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it in terms of, you know, my thoughts on this and how it works. I think the thing that was really confusing was looking at the looking at the books in the beginning and just trying to wrap your head around it. I just could not understand how the whole thing worked, and so that's why this was so useful in sort of pulling this together, because you can actually see the flow in terms of how this works, or how it's supposed to work, or how someone has potentially made this happen. So, you know, that's all I have in terms of this piece. I just wanted to make sure that everyone got a little bit of a sense of what was happening. Again, I'll give a shout out to some of the YouTube channels. So one of the things that was really interesting is Automatic Comics here. He, with the help of sort of the CGC boards piece, actually found proof of a couple more books where, you know, he found the proof on that Hulk that we're talking about here. He found similar sort of instances, 2 more in terms of Hulk 181s. Again, I'll probably have another shout out for West Coast Avengers. They've actually done, let me just bring that tab up for you. So again, West Coast Avengers, they did a session with the 9.9 newsstand covering this in terms of their live feeds. So I won't go into too much detail. I'll let you go and watch their channels and their discussions. I think Manu, who is 9.9's newsstand, is, you know, I think it's great if you can go and watch those videos and just get a sense from him directly, because, you know, there's a lot of conversation around what, you know, how this actually happened, what's you know, what's his thoughts on it. And then last but not least, we've obviously got Swaggerhash, who kicked it. His video actually kicked off the discussion on the CGC boards. So you'll go, I'll put the link in the description here. But essentially his original video, which if we scroll down here, you can see the scam alert one here. Basically that kicked off the whole discussion on CGC boards, and it's grown now. I think from memory, it's at around about 93 pages, which is huge on the CGC forums in terms of discussion. So, you know, I keep checking it every day, seeing what else has been discovered, if anything. And obviously we're still waiting for CGC to make comments. So let's hope that this all gets resolved pretty soon. What's the quest for better shelters can lead to the ruination of others. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Let me just share this. The quest for better social standing and greed can lead to the ruination of others if we let it. Agreed. This is, yeah, it's not a great look to be able to do that. So, Okay, well, that's it in terms of the CGC. Well, this reholder scandal that's ongoing. If you've got any thoughts or feedbacks, please leave comments down below. Or if you're in the chat right now, what are your thoughts on it? Do we think that this is anybody, like, this is the thing that worries me, has this been happening with other people? Have other people been doing this? If so, how big does the rabbit hole go? So this is the worrying piece, is that, just be careful out there, check your books. And this is part of the reason why I'm super happy that I submit my own books, because I don't necessarily, I know the raw books that are coming. I know the quality of those books. And so I don't necessarily have to worry about, anyone touching those. It's all going into CGC and then pumping out. So I know exactly what those books are. But if you're buying big keys like these, just be careful out there. Just make sure you do your due diligence, and just be careful, because, anything can happen. So maybe with that, let's take that off. I'm going to switch to some books that I was sorting through this week. I just thought it'd be good to share with everybody in terms of what I've got, that I've sort of dug out of the old long boxes and short boxes. In particular, and you would know this from previous videos, I've been sorting through some of my early Marvel UK books, and I found a whole bunch of these. They're duplicates. I've sort of stored a lot of my new ones, but these are all duplicates. And let me just bring up the extra camera here. Hopefully this works. No, that's not on. So just give me one moment. It's not working yet. Just a second. Okay, we might be going. Let me just turn this off for a second. Let's do this. And then do this. And do this. No, do this. Do this. No. Let's do that. That's better. There you go. That's what we wanted. Let's see if this works now. No, that one doesn't work. That one does work. We'll go with this. Okay. Mighty World of Marvel, number 25. So this is from 1973, March 24th, 1973. These are a whole bunch of essentially Marvel UK books, and you can see here Marvel Comics Group. And these are early Marvel UK books. And in the Mighty World of Marvel and various other Marvel UK books, they used to reprint the US stories. So these Mighty World of Marvels are super early in terms of 1970s. And they would reprint the early Silver Age issues. Is my internet down? Let me just set this back up again. Let's just dedicate some Wi-Fi, shall we? Okay. But as you can see here, They used to have their own art. So here you've got the bottom panels, which are obviously Jack Kirby panels, but then you've got its own original art that was done by. And what you'd see here is these early books that are essentially recolored, but they're black and white, but recolored in this sort of green. And it's just, these are the comic books that us in the UK would grow up reading more often than not, over and above the US counterparts that would come into the country. But you can see here, these are just great to have because, you get the black and white art with the green coloring, which is quite apt for the Hulk in terms of what these books would look like. So you get the black and white, but then, again, you get some, you get one page colored green, one black and white. But it's just so nice to see these. And again, they're bigger than the normal US comic book. So you can see here, just as a comparison, you've got, you get probably another 2 or 3 centimeters around. So it's great to see these come out like that. Daredevil. So early issue of the Daredevil reprinted here. Again, you've got that green overlay with some black and white as well. Let's just keep going through this. But the one thing that I really loved about the Marvel UK books is you get all this extra stuff, all these little freebies, all these little extra pieces that you wouldn't see in the US books. So for instance, inside this issue, 3 mini posters, and finding these not being cut out is always a joy. And you can see here, people would hang them from the ceiling. They would make them a bookmark. So it was just really good to see this stuff. And then obviously Stan Lee had his soapbox at the side here. Hang on, heroes. Now that I've got your collective ear, I'm not letting go. In a tintillating topic for today, that is Marvel philosophy. And don't you dare miss a word. There may be an exam. Whenever I get together with you frantic ones, one of the questions tossed at me is sure to be, what are you guys really trying to do in your mags? What message are you pushing? Is the whole Marvel experience just a put on, or are you really trying to tell us something? Are you actually serious about your far out characters? Do you really believe in your yarns? Well, just to set the record straight, we believe in our cavorting characters a lot more than we believe in some of our next door neighbors. As for any motive we may have, our purpose is plain and simple. We're out to entertain you. We think we found the freshest former of all. We simply create the kind of uninhibited stories that we ourselves enjoy. And if they turn us on, then you're bound to like them too. After all, you're our kind of people. But I'll tell you a secret. If we're tossing all the extravagant entertainment at you, we can also manage, however humbly, to advance the cause of intellectualism, humanitarianism, and mutual understanding, and to swamp you with a little swinging satire in the process. While that won't break our happy little hearts one tiny bit. And that wraps it up. Believer, so thanks for listening. Excelsior, Stan. But yeah, you can see here the Thing, Daredevil, and Submariner mini posters. And we'll see more of these as we go through the other books. You go through the story here. They had a mailbag. Then you go to the Fantastic Four with the first, well, not the first Wrecker. Then you've got this is that Fantastic Four issue 12 reprint. I'm not sure why they put the Wrecker there. That might actually be a change to the original book. I should go back and have a look at that. But again, this is the sort of stuff that Marvel UK would do. They would take the pages and where they needed to from a continuity standpoint, because these were serialized over, one issue wasn't a full. You wouldn't get Fantastic Four 12, for instance, in one full issue here. You'd get it broken out. Just and as you can see, these are just great. You'd get Obviously, different ads that you would get from the US. And then generally, the back cover would be the story page. But in this instance, we get more advertisements. This time you get one for Foom magazine or the Foom fan club, Ultimate Fan Club Foom, Friends of Old Marvel. And then this basically ads for the Amazing Spider-Man Comics Weekly #6, which had just launched post then. But again, look at these. This is why I love these, because you get these beautiful old vintage ads and just repurposing of great artwork. Then we've got number 24. Number 24. Which was that one? That was 25. And we've got 24 here. Again, I think this is new art that they created. And there's another mini poster surprise in here. So you can see the Hulk, more of that fantastic green and black coloring. And then you've got a nice little quiz. Will spot the difference? Can you find the real Reed Richards? In issue 20 featured a fantastic story about fake Mr. Fantastic. Now you can join the fun by finding the real Reed Richards from these 8 pictures below. Remember, believe only one is a genuine stretchable hero. Make your choice carefully. This is a tricky one. The answer appears on page 40, Tagger. Then we've got more of the Daredevil story. Then we get this great middle page spread here. Again, with 2 mini posters. So you get Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm. Then you get an ad, again, another ad for Spider-Man Comics Weekly, this time number 5. And the Foom Club, again, everything's intact. None of this is damaged or cut out. So to get these that are pristine is usually quite rare, because someone would have generally cut these up in the same way that someone takes Marvel Value Stamp. We've got a nice Hall of Infamy Doctor Doom panel here, full page poster, which I think would have appeared in Fantastic Four Annual 1 in terms of the Rogues Gallery. But yeah, they took those original ones and then reprinted them here. Fantastic Four and the Hulk. So this is, Fantastic Four issue 12, I believe. Yeah, Fantastic Four issue 12 reprint. And you can see we definitely is a change to why they called it the Wrecker in that point. And then the nice one on this, you've got another pinup. So, you've got 2 mini posters. You got that Doctor Doom splash page, and then you got this great pinup page of Ben Grimm as the Thing. Okay, next one. We've got Mighty World of Marvel 16. So again, we're getting earlier here. I do have some others that I can share probably next week. I'll take you through them next week. Let's just grab a coffee. Not sure which issue this is. It would be good to, I should be going back and just working through which of these, where they were reprinted. I think this is an early Tales to Astonish. Might be number 62 or 63, I think. First leader. Or early leader anyway. But again, it's these sort of pages that I really sort of want from these books. You get to see these great pinup pages. And when they're full color like this, it really does bring, these books are just great to sort of flick through and see. And there's a whole bunch of here that I want to sort of take you through as well. I'll show you some of the stuff that you used to get in these Marvel UK magazines. There you go, another double page spread. No posters, mini posters this time, but you get a sense of, this amazing, beautiful coloring that they put in these books. Here's your house ad talking about Foom again, talking about the different stories coming for next week. So Hulk battles the hordes of humanoids. Spider-Man faces Bedlam at the Bugle. Fantastic Four with the Puppet Master. But yeah, it's just so good to be able to walk through these and relive it. And there's some great puzzles. Look at this Doctor Doom coloring, not touched. So good to have that. And there we go, another color spread with another one of Fantastic Four's Rogues Gallery scrolls from outer space. So you get a nice color page of that. Look at that. How beautiful is that? A nice book. And then a recolored copy, another recolored page from the original book. Then we're back to the black and white and green. And then on the back, you get another one of these. This is what they normally would have on the back cover. You'd get these sort of end story panels, but this one colored in, obviously, because of the color page. But you'll note that that's color, black and white. But yeah, it's just great to see these. Then we got number 14. Again, I think this is another, maybe another original cover that they did. This was in January 6, 1973. Again, black and white and green art. Some UK ads included. Another poster. Mailbag letters page. Spider-Man story with Dr. Doom. Black and green. Here's the beautiful center spread of this one. So Foom Day is coming. So they're obviously talking about when Foom is coming. So it hadn't happened at this point. What's lovely about this one is you see February the 10th, you've got, that's when they're going to reveal the secret behind Foom. So they kept teasing Foom at this point. And essentially, look at this nice piece of art of like Johnny Human Torch basically on the floor. Not sure what's going on there. But then again, look at this. This is great. Like, just, you would not see, I don't think this has ever been put into US comics. I'd be happy to be corrected. But yeah, this stuff is just, it's new stuff. This stuff is reprinted, obviously. I always had a question on whether or not these puzzles appeared in any Marvel books anywhere else. It seems like they were very consistent in Marvel UK books. These puzzles, and so much so that actually the Captain Britain run that I collect, one of the things you really have to watch out for is whether these puzzles have been completed in. I'm lucky in these books that they just they haven't had anything cut out, and no one's completed the puzzle. So these are great books, and these are duplicates. I've got other copies of these as well. These I'm going to be selling on a claim sale at some point. But again, just wanted to get it out and so everyone could have a look and see what was, what's in these books, because it's not just the covers, right? Like if you go into here, there's a whole bunch of extra stuff that you wouldn't see in the US books. So we've got Rogues Gallery, Miracle Man. You've got this great, basically puzzle with the Hulk. Then you've got recolored, Master of Planet X. Story from the Fantastic Four. Love this panel here with very, very slim, squashed down Mr. Fantastic. And let's look at this. And there you go. Back cover. This is something that you'll notice on these UK price variants or Marvel UK books. The way that they used to get delivered is kids would have paper rounds, or basically people would save books at their local newsagents, and the newsagent would just write either the address or the name of that. So you'll see this quite commonly on most of these sort of Marvel UK books. Then we've got number 12. This I think is, again, look at these heads, right? Like they may be new art that's created specifically for this issue. This is a super early Incredible Hulk reprint. And then you get ads as well for stuff like soccer. Interesting to see that. Dr. Doom, again, another one of Dr. Doom, but this time in color. His Rogues Gallery. So I think this is the second one we've seen already today. But again, look at that art. I think that might, again, be original art, not something that was used in the US. Nice coffee. More Hulk. Spider-Man. I think that's the reprint of the first appearance of the Lizard. Another great middle one here. So you've got a survey here that hasn't been completed. All right, who's the wise guy? I just found someone didn't answer the questions we tossed at you last issue. I'm here to give you one more chance. So you could fill in this survey. Not sure when they print. I might go back and look and see when they actually publish the results of this survey, but it'd be really good. I may do some scans of this and sort of share it on Instagram, because I think these sort of things no one's sort of opening these books and having a look at. And it's just great memorabilia from the time to be able to share with everybody. Another puzzle. Finding can the FF make it to Namor and Doctor Doom? Reprint with the coloured Fantastic Four story. Back to the black and white. Again, look at this. So good. And then another back cover. Now, that's the Mighty World of Marvel books. I may crack out some more next week. Take you through them. See what you think. But one of the things I did have here is some of the later Marvel UK books. Now, these, you'll notice, these ones are all sort of paper, right? At some point in the transition, I think in the sort of mid-70s, they made this transition to sort of glossy cover, but then the paper stock inside. No, this is like 1976. And so this Mighty World of Marvel is number 210. Now, the reason why I wanted this, and we'll go through it in a minute, but you can see how it changes, right? So it's now black and white art inside. There's none of that sort of extra colouring. But we're still reprinting the original US books. And you get your letters pages, your editorial. You get reprints of, at some points, sometimes you'd also get these splash pages that were created specifically because obviously they had to split the story in half. This might be another splash page that was created specifically for Marvel UK, because this looks like it's a continuation of the original story. So you got some classic Neil Adams art here, in the full black and white. So you get to see it. There's your letters page. A bit of the Conan the Barbarian story. And then more ads. Spider-Man Roadshow is coming to you. This week, Spidey's appearing on Saturday, 2nd of October, ABC Cinema Doncaster. Plenty of prizes, lots of comics. Your chance to meet Spidey. See you there. Daredevil story. Yeah, that's Gene Colan art, I think. Yep, Gene Colan. And again, I think that is... Yeah, so this is, again, this is one of those where it joins the story halfway through, and what you end up is you have to have this. They created these one-pages, splash pages, to essentially continue the story. So in the UK, you basically end up with multiple sort of splash pages starts the story. I'll just go through this. And then at the back, this is why I wanted this book. So a lot of people talk about the first appearance of Captain Britain being Captain Britain #1, or I think it was a Foom issue 12. But there was this ad beforehand. So technically, this could be one of Captain Britain's first appearances. You see it's advertising the first issue of Captain Britain, 16 pages, full color. Don't miss the dynamic issue. First dynamic issue, Captain Britain mask. Wait till you see the great free gift waiting for you, issue 2. But this is a great book to own, and to be able to sort of have that as part of my Captain Britain collection. That's why I wanted to get this book. Then you have 211. And again, with 211, you get the reprint. There's another one of those story pages that's been created specifically for Marvel UK, because it's completely different art to this. That's definitely not drawn by Herb Trimpe, whereas this is. So it's interesting. Those are art. They were never credited, those artists, for that work on those pages, it seems. And again, we've got another one here. We've got another page here. You've got Neil Adams art on this page, and you've got this splash page that's created specifically. No idea who that artist is. But it looks like, if I'm honest, it looks like it's probably someone in the UK that's probably drawn that one. very similar art style that I seem to recall. Conan the Barbarian, again, you would expect that because it's a continuation of the previous story. And there is another. This one, I think, is the original, probably is the original art. And there you go again. You've got the advertisement for the first issue and the Spider-Man Roadshow again. And on the last page, we get another ad for Captain Britain, this time for number 2. And there's the free boomerang that you got inside it as well. And then we've got 212. Again, this is proper. This one is Herb Trimpe art and the start of the story in the US book. So there's no need to replace a splash page in this one. Conan the Barbarian, it does have a newly created splash page to cover it. Again, you see no credit for the artist here. It just talks about John Buscema and Dick Giordano. You got the Luke Cage story. That looks like that's the original first splash page from the US book. This kicks off this first appearance of Luke Cage. And then there's got an ad here for Captain Britain number 2 with the free boomerang again. This is why I wanted to get this book. And there you go. That's that one. Now, the other one that's really interesting is there were other books in the run. So there was these books, and Spider-Man went through this as well. You'll see that in a minute. Where in the UK, what they tended to do with some of the reprints is you'd have the comic books like they're basically being landscape. And the reason why they did that is that so they could fit entire issues in, and they could put 2 pages to one whole page. So these you tended to get better. You'd tend to get the whole story in this because they'd done that repositioning. But what you would end up with these amazing covers where essentially you're repurposing the original artwork, creating this brand new cover each time. And you would obviously have the title on the left here. You'd have the Titans at the top. So you'd have the title repeated twice, but it would sit on the newsstand. Well, generally it would sit like that, but ultimately you can stack it. It's the same size as the other books, but just stacked a different way or attached a different way. But you can see here, you get to see these books in all their glory. And, you know, thankfully this camera does really sort of do it justice in terms of being able to see these stories. So you get the full story, finishes off, and then this nice house ad for the Super Spider-Man Roadshow again. And again, here you go. You can see these stories side by side. You get 4 pages essentially across these double-page spreads, and you get the full story. But the reason why I wanted this book and why I pulled this one out in particular is this is an early. And what they used to do with these is you'd get these posters in the middle. And the reason why I wanted this one is obviously, again, it's a Captain Britain poster. This is Titans number 56. Great poster of Captain Britain there. And most of these books had the posters in. So if you get some of these, you should be able to find a poster inside. If you haven't, that's obviously been pulled out. I've got a couple of those where they've been pulled out. It's not ideal. Half the value in these, or half the value to me, is that having those posters inside, because that is original art created specifically for these books. Inhumans, got some ads for the Marvel books that were coming out, the Marvel annuals. So in the UK, we used to get these hardback annuals, and as well as that, it's got the Bring on the Bad Guys book, which Stan was promoting at the time in the UK. But there you go. That's one of the wide print books. And then I've also got another example. Again, the reason for this is the poster in the middle. I'll quickly show you that. Again, another Captain Britain one, where I think they've taken the original art, adapted it a little bit. But yeah, love that. But But yeah, you can see here that they did this with Super Spider-Man for a while. So Spider-Man went from his normal format like that to this sort of wide format where they could tell more of the story. So you'd get to see. And again, what they did with this is they would recreate, where they got a big splash page with this, they'd crop down on some of the story, or they'd recreate a new panel that, you know, they were able to sort of make a change to. But you get essentially the full story in that book. And then that leads directly to the Avengers story. And again, you get the full book. We also get this ad for Captain Britain's colours. So a little outfit set that was developed for Captain Britain. I'm still looking for one of these. I know one person that's got one. But yeah, they're sort of hard to come by now. They come up very rarely, and they probably didn't last 5 minutes. But yeah, this, you could send this off. Again, the coupon's intact, so super happy about that. Corgi ad, and then we've got the Mighty Thor. And then the aforementioned Captain Britain poster. You've got Captain America story. Again, split across these multiple panels. Again, another Iron Man panel, a splash page created specifically for the book. Captain Britain issue 29 advertisement. So they were really pushing Captain Britain at this point, because I think probably the numbers were falling off at that point. The later issues weren't particularly strong. The Chris Claremont ones at the beginning were pretty good. But yeah, it started to fall off a little bit in terms of, and eventually actually got subsumed into the Super Spider-Man and the Titans, and then reverted to that. This was one of the last books where it was in this sort of horizontal landscape format. Now, next week, you probably would have seen this book, and I sort of talked about it a little bit. I've done a bit of a clean and managed to get a lot of that stuff off the front cover that was on there. There was some sort of residue. So I took Neville's advice last week and gave it a bit of a clean, and it's actually turned out quite well. So I will probably be submitting this to CGC, but I wanted to sort of share it with you all again before it went out. This is Warrior #1, edited by Des Skin. Thought it might be useful to sort of flick through, show you what's in this book. So the kickoff story is Marvel Man, as it is here, but then it later became Miracle Man due to the rights issue. You can see it's great to see this original black and white art, how it was originally presented. And you can see he refers to himself as Marvel Man. I'm Marvel Man. I'm Marvel Man. I remember now. I'm Marvel Man. I'm back. So yeah, this is pre them having to change the name to Miracle Man, but it's a good book. And then you get a bit of a history of Marvel Man, and then we've got another story called The Spiral Path, which didn't really go anywhere, it seems. Get a sort of Dave Gibbons story, or I think it's probably I think this is like a Tharg Future Shock, where they tell us sort of one-off contained story. I'm not sure who wrote this, but art by Dave Gibbons. Likely this is an Alan Moore, quick Alan Moore. Then we've got The Legend of Prosper John. House of Hammer horror back issues ad. Then we get the first appearance of V for Vendetta, so the V for Vendetta story. So Alan Moore and David Lloyd. So you can see how good this art is. There you go. And then Laser, Eraser, and Press Button, who feature on the front cover. I think this is Dylan artwork. I think. Yep, Steve Dillon. Yeah, Steve Dillon artwork. And then an ad for Forbidden Planet. And then last Probably wanted to share this with everybody. I've covered this in a stream with Bronze and Modern Gods where I was recently with them. But I thought I'd share this as well because these are fantastic. I came across a lot of these through Mint Under Comics. He had a whole batch of these books, a whole batch of these packs. But these are Marvel Comics 3-packs. Now, basically, what would end up happening is that Marvel and various other publishers as well would basically bundle up these books and then sell them aftermarket. But they are, if you look here, you can see they are original first prints. And this one's in particularly good condition, so I haven't cracked it open as yet. But I thought this would be a good one to share. What you'd get in this is, in this one in particular, you've got issue 21, 22, and 23. 22 is notable because it's the first appearance of Duke. But the one that everybody's looking for is obviously 21, which is the silent issue. I won't crack this up open on the back, but I have cracked open a handful of these ready to submit to CGC. So I'll be doing a video in the next couple of weeks where I talk you through some of the books that I'm going to be putting forward for submission to CGC and these GI Joes. Some of these GI Joes are going to be in that submission. I'll just give you a sense of how. I mean, you can see. I don't know how to zoom in here. There's a couple of little tiny flaws, but they're pretty good condition considering they've been in these poly bags for so long. But I'm going to keep this one in its poly bag and keep that one safe. But I'm going to be submitting a few others to CGC. So that's it for this week. I think we've been going for about an hour. Hopefully you got a lot out of it, particularly as it relates to the scandal that's ongoing. As I say, I'll put links into the description below, so you'll be able to see and get access to some of this information and some of the people that have been doing coverage on it. Love to hear what you thought about the channel, what you thought about the show, what else you'd love to see, what other books. Please leave a like, a comment, and if you can, subscribe. You get to see when we get these live streams up and running, when we get new content. I'll be hopefully doing a page by page for one of those Silver Age books in the next week or so. So look out for that. But yeah, this has been the Weekend Watchlist. Thanks very much for joining. Hopefully you were able to sort of put up with some of the sort of not technical difficulties, but the fact that some of the screens weren't working. But yeah, love to have you back, and take care. See you soon.